Hello and welcome to AP Comparative Government. Welcome back to Studio Room 2C, where there's always room to see how countries compare. Or if you're a first-time viewer, welcome to AP Comparative, the best AP social science test and class you can take. I'm Andrew Canine. I teach in Stevenson High School in the north suburbs of Chicago, and we are getting into a practice exam. So I don't want to talk too long. Again, thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time, make sure you go back to some previous lessons, particularly starting at 3.1. You see some exam questions that I write every day that are tailored to the exam, but I've covered every specific topic in the AP course description. I'll talk more about that tomorrow, but we want to get into having you practice your writing. Before we get started with anything, even before shout outs, I really encourage you to make sure you have your AP ID, your Advanced Placement ID. You can access this at myap.collegeboard.org. Go to your profile, my AP profile, and go into registration. If you have not received an email with your ID number, this is the place to go. Go to myap.collegeboard.org. Go to my AP profile and go to registration. You want to get that taken care of. I know AP tests start a week from now, and I'm going to show this a couple different times. I'm going to show this toward the end. You can take a picture of this, or again, I'm going to show it later. You can go back and see all these lessons are recorded and accessible immediately afterwards. I highly recommend, if you have not done so, to go to your AP checklist. So cb.org/AP checklist. That's very helpful. I mean, all these resources are going to be super helpful. I was really panicked today. I know you guys are probably nervous because I was nervous putting this together. And I was trying to figure out what you guys have to figure out, and I got anxious. I'm telling you what, this walkthrough video, it's 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Take a picture of that. At some point, you can even pause this lesson, or if you're watching it later, pause it. You can go to the walkthrough. It does a much better job than what I'm about to do to explain the step-by-step on the exam day procedures of typing or writing and then uploading your answers. Check this video out. You're going to be really relieved when you watch this really short video to know what the step-by-step procedures are. So I'm going to show this again. Toward the end of the lessons. I do want to get into your actual practice writing, but have to give a shout. What a nice shout out. And so impressed that Shannon joined Twitter. I know a bunch of you Twitter rookies have joined Twitter just to give a shout out to your AP CompGov 2020 teachers and the so chill, Mr. Roberts at Van Nuys High School out in California. Welcome to Shannon. If you have a teacher that you'd like to shout out, we're even doing double shout outs. If your teacher's already gotten a shout out, we can do double shout outs. Go to #APCompGov2020 if you have any logistical questions after going through your exam today, the practice, some more specific content questions. You can interact at #APCompGov2020. There are some terrific teachers out there. Mr. Waxler is out there patrolling AP CompGov 2020, Mr. Oppel, Mrs. Carter. So you can use that. And we have our Nigerian activists for the last 72 hours consistently posting at #AP CompGov 2020. And of course, students Chris G and Andrew E. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Andrew Weaver, I think that is. I'm so behind in my grading, so behind. Virtual world is like reality world, but let's move on. So I'm going to show you 2 AP questions. I actually wrote these questions based on the description that College Board's provided at the AP coronavirus. They're difficult. I wrote the questions you're going to see today, especially the argument essay. It is tier 5 difficulty, diabolical. I don't know what your teachers described. It is a tough one. This is my question I wrote. I did not write any exam questions for comparative government, for College Board, for the exam you're going to see. I just like writing questions. And I think the questions I wrote today are fair, but they are difficult. So if you're struggling with them, and I'm going to mention this That's all right. You're going to struggle with this, but it's a good eye opener to kind of what you need to do to prepare and the skills you're going to need to demonstrate to be successful. I think you're going to see 2 questions I'm going to do on Wednesday that I think you're going to find a little bit more comfort in. I'll put it that way. And but today's are tricky. So you're going to complete 2 questions that are representing the tasks. You'll see a lot of skills, a lot of the same verbiage. Describes and explain, use the data, create an argument, use evidence to support that argument, use specific countries within the time. So I'm going to time you today. Please note, while these questions are designed to be similar to the structure and the format, they are not intended to be representative of the content that will be assessed. Although the questions I wrote today do cover concepts in units 1, 2, and 3. And those are the fair game units for the AP comparative exam on May 22nd. Those are the fair game units. So any vocab and concepts that I've gone through in all of these different lessons, those are fair game. So you're going to see I really play emphasis on those concepts in these questions for today. So I'm going to show you these documents. I'm going to go through this rather quickly this time, but I'm going to show these again because after you're done writing, you have to submit your answer. So if you're typing on a laptop or a desktop, an iPad, you're going to submit. You're going to download and submit a document. If you are using you can also cut and paste. There's going to be an option to cut and paste. That video I was telling you about before shows you those 2 different options. The nice thing about a laptop or a desktop is you'll be able to kind of minimize your screen so you can see the question on one side of your screen and you can do your typing on the right-hand side. That's a little bit trickier with a phone. With a phone, my understanding is that most students are going to be handwriting their answers. You can do that. Pay careful attention to the video though, because in all your typing and your handwriting, you need your AP ID at the top, you need your initials. So there's a lot of details you need to follow for both typing and handwriting. And particularly with handwriting, you have to number your pages if you're going to be writing on multiple pages, which you probably will be. And you got to take a picture vertically. So if you were thinking about doing on a phone, I just got to caution you. As I was watching the video and all the details, I got kind of nervous because there's more details to remember how to do it properly if you're on your phone. You can definitely do it. Watch the video, take a picture of this screen. I'm going to have this screen up a couple different times. Okay. And then again, I'll show you the screen on the actual logistics of submitting. It's a 2-step process. All right. So text, photos, or pasting, what I just mentioned before, those 3 different options. But that video is really helpful. Only 4 minutes, 22 seconds. So, sorry. And so we're going to start the question. This is the argument essay. This is going to be the first question you'll see. You'll have 30 minutes. You'll see the timer. I'm going to start the timer. With 5 minutes left, I'm actually going to take the question down because that's the time you're supposed to be using to submit your answer. You're going to have those 5 minutes, but it has to be submitted by the end of that 30-minute countdown. So I'll indicate when you have 5 minutes left. And you need to just practice your timing and take a deep breath. This one's hard. This one's hard. Take a deep breath, focus on the concepts, focus on the connections, focus on making sure that you use because for your reasoning. Make sure you use that extra concept word. Make sure you give country-specific examples, but always connect those back to your prompt. And if you're repeating your prompt up to 6 times, once for the thesis, maybe twice in the claim statement, and repeating or rephrasing your thesis, your claim a couple times in each of your evidence paragraphs, it's not going to be a bad thing because you really want to make sure your answers are clearly connected to a thesis that has reasoning. And my other tip is, and this comes from Mr. Dan Larson, when in doubt, think less and ink more. Elaborate, particularly if you have concepts that are going to catch you off guard. And I think today, this is a tough one. This is a tricky one. All right, so take a deep breath. Here we go. You got 30 minutes. And I'm going to minimize my screen, but I'm going to show you the question now. And I'm going to start now. So check out the concepts. Make sure you read the whole thing, and I'm going to turn my video off. So assess the relationship between the executive branch and the welfare state. Use the following course concept in your response. You have to use neoliberalism. I would use that in your claim statement. I would use that in each of your evidence paragraphs. I would use that term repeatedly. Make sure you use the concepts executive branch and welfare state repeatedly. So you got to make an argument. You got to make a claim based on the relationship between the executive branch and the welfare state. Use neoliberalism. You have to use 2 of the 4 countries, a minimum of 1. You can use one of those countries for 2 distinct evidence paragraphs. That's up to you. Or you can use 2 of the 4. I would use separate different paragraphs, and I'm going to stop talking and let you write. That is the entire question. If you do want to see a link, you can go to that tiny URL, and that will link you to this same question. Okay, you have 10 minutes left to still submit your work. You should probably do another 5 minutes of writing and then move in towards uploading your work. And when there's 5 minutes left, I'm going to show you more about uploading your work. At this point, if you're almost done writing, or if you feel like you're running out, think less, ink more. Go back, double check your thesis paragraph, make sure that it contains all the key words. What's the relationship between the executive branch and the welfare state? Make sure there's a because to show the reasoning there. Make sure you've incorporated neoliberalism. Make sure each of your evidence paragraphs where your country-specific information is connected back to a rephrasing of that thesis. Even if you have to retype that thesis or rephrase it in there, go ahead and do that for your evidence 1 and evidence 2 paragraphs. Make sure that word neoliberalism is also connected into your answers for your evidence 1 and evidence 2. So you have about 4 minutes left of writing and then 5 minutes of upload time. But if you're running out of steam here, go back, look again, make sure those critical parts are in there to maximize your points. And when in doubt, keep on elaborating. Okay, so you have 5 minutes left. You can see the timer indicates you have 5 minutes left. So that's really, hopefully you're wrapping up your writing, you're going back and double checking facts, make sure you're double checking your phrasing, make sure you're double checking again that you have those three concepts from the prompt: executive branch, welfare state, and neoliberalism, and make sure those claims are in both your evidence 1 and evidence 2. And you're going to start submitting that. And so I'm going to let you know when those 5 minutes are up there. Remember, option 1 for submitting is attaching a document. So if you're using a laptop or a desktop, if you're using an iPad or a tablet, and you're on Google Docs or Microsoft Word or Notes or something similar, you're going to want to save your document as a doc or a PDF or a text. And then again, you need your Apple ID at the top of each of your papers. And I would really recommend, if you are doing word processing and typing, have that Apple ID and your initials already on there on multiple pages, just in case you forget in the rush. Same thing if you're handwriting. Make sure you write your Apple ID and your initials at the top of each page, and you can number your pages too for the argument essay and then for the quantitative analysis. And then again, for the side-by-side windows, you can see this note here that for Windows, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, or Edge, you'll be able to minimize the left side. You'll be able to see the text question on the left and be able to type on the right on those types of devices. If you want to copy and paste your response, you can do that. Same thing, make sure your Apple ID and initials are at the top of your response. And then make sure when you go in there, make sure it's formatted well. Make sure you have, particularly in the argument essay, 3 different paragraphs. Really recommend for both of these questions, but particularly the argument essay, use 3 different paragraphs. And then again, if you are using a phone, you can definitely do this, but you make sure you pay attention to the details. Handwrite, have your Apple ID, I keep on saying Apple ID, your AP ID at the top, and your initials, page number at the top. If you want to label it argument essay, you can, that's optional for you, but make sure you have a page number. You're probably going to be using multiple pages, particularly in the argument essay. Make sure you use a number 2 pencil or blue or black pen. You have to take a picture vertically with your phone, and then you need to submit it. So if you are planning on using your phone, make sure you pay attention to those details. And again, all of that information that I just went through, and I'll go through real quickly again after your next quantitative analysis, that is in that video of the what to do on exam day. 4 minutes, 22 seconds. You can do it. You have 1.5 minutes to submit this. And again, we're practicing here, making sure you have the timing. Some of you might be still writing or finishing up some of the writing or adding a couple of details, but you have 1 minute and 15 seconds to hit submit. If you don't hit submit, it's not going to happen. Okay, and you have 1 minute left to submit. And you have just over 30 seconds to submit. I'm going to go right into the quantitative analysis question at the end of that 30 minutes. And again, take a deep breath, look for data literacy, look for titles, labels before you go into all the data, and then read the questions. Make sure you follow all of the tasks of all the questions. Make sure you use specific data in all of these, and make sure you use country specific where appropriate. And we got 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and we'll go back to submitting your response. Here is your quantitative analysis, and we are go time. 20 minutes to write. So we have a title, Corruption Perceptions Index. We have years on here. We have the index score. Make sure you read your X and Y axis labels. Corruption Perception Index score. 0 is total corruption. 100 is no corruption. All right, so that's a key thing. Look at your numbers. 0 is total corruption. 100 is no corruption. Transparency International, 2016. You have 3 countries, Nigeria, Mexico, and Russia. Letter A, explain how a pattern in the data of the table relates to political stability in Russia. Using the data in the table, draw a conclusion about democratization. And letter C, explain how the data in the table relates to political legitimacy in Mexico and Nigeria. Okay, again, read the labels. Corruption Perception Index, 2001 to 2016. Index score on the left. We have years, and note 0 equals total corruption, 100 equals no corruption. Transparency International. And I'm going to stop talking as you write. You have 18 minutes and 30 seconds left. Again, you have 10 more minutes until this needs to be submitted, which means you have 5 minutes to write. And then you should really reserve 5 minutes just to make sure you're going to have enough time to submit. Obviously, you're not submitting anything today. This is just practice. And you're practicing your timing to make sure that when you actually do the exam, you're going to have enough time to write and submit your answers in the allotted amount of time. I will tell you, I'm going to stop talking here in a moment, let you finish up. If you want, if you're typing these or handwriting them, save your responses, email them to your teachers or email a picture to your teachers and ask for feedback. I mean, that could be one way that you use this writing as a way, not just to practice your timing, but to get feedback from your teachers. Tomorrow I'll be talking about both of these questions, but if you want to send them to your teachers, you can do that. Okay, so you now would have on the exam day 5 minutes to submit your work. If you're still typing or writing, you can still use this time to type or write, but just be warned that when that clock hits zero, you won't be able to submit. So you want to be able to submit before the clock hits zero. You could use this time to make sure that you're going in and make sure you have specific data. Remember my tips on for anytime you're asked to explain a pattern or a trend or a difference, you have to make sure you have at least two different specific points of data, particularly across a timeline like this. You're going to probably want a couple different years and specific data with those years to indicate a pattern or a trend. And then anytime for all three of these, it asks for explain how in A and C. It asks to draw a conclusion in B. You really want your answer to have a because, have some kind of causal statement so that you're explaining how or drawing a conclusion. You're elaborating on an answer. So you can, one of my tips is try to answer these in a sentence, maybe 2 sentences, then go on to the next one, but always go back and add and elaborate. Now, as you are getting a feel for the timing again, you've seen these before. The submitting your work is either through a document where you convert this to, it's either a doc or a PDF, and you're going to submit it as a document, or you can copy and paste your work into the window. You'll have that option. Really go look at that a quick video on the step-by-step guide on test day that'll show that option. And then I was mentioning before, taking a picture of your handwritten work. Make sure you have on all of these. Make sure you have your AP ID and your initials at the top. And if you're handwriting your work, make sure you include a page number at the top of each page of your response. So submitting your response, you're going to see 3 different options. The text file, if you are taking a photo of your work, and if you're pasting your work. Make sure, particularly if you're pasting your work, make sure you go double check and make sure that's formatted. You don't want just a wall of text with no separation of paragraphs or no separation between A, B, and C in the case of the quantitative analysis. You want to make sure it's formatted. So I know you are still in the time of submitting your work. And again, my suggestion is obviously you're not submitting anything. There's nothing to submit to. You're just getting a feel for the timing. Take a picture, save your work, send it to your teacher. Explain that you were working on the videos today. You might want to send them a copy of that URL that was on the question. If you send them a copy of the URL, tinyurl.com, AP CompGov sample questions, so they can see what the questions are in case they don't know what the questions are. Send them that work and get their feedback. And take a picture of this page. These are really straightforward ways to go and get tips if you are nervous and anxious about the logistics and the details of the 2020 AP exam, no matter what subject you're taking. Take a picture of this and go to some of those before the exam day video, the exam walkthrough video, super helpful, the checklist, and be prepared. We have a week before the first AP exams. The AP comparative exam's not until May 22nd. Do yourself a favor, go in there, know the details, be prepared ahead of time, and you will be successful with the logistics. Again, tomorrow I will be back where am I? Tomorrow I will be back to walk through both of those questions. Man, that argument of essay, if you thought it was hard, I'm glad it's hard. I'll walk you through, I'll give you some strategies. We'll walk through the data analysis, give you some strategies, and get you prepared to improve if you need to improve, and how to feel even more confident as you prepare for the AP comparative exam. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm Andrew Canine, broadcasting from Studio Room 2C, where there's always room to see how countries compare. Be well.